Hello, Rob here from the Flanagan Homestead. We're going to talk about goats and trees in your pasture and if you can have the two together. So I've been working around projects around the barn today. I was burning some old pallets, fixing up a deck and whatnot. But you can also see this tree that is now dead right behind me. It once was a beautiful Italian plum tree, and we had one year probably close to 1,000 plums off of that thing, but that was planted there before we put the goat pasture over here, and you can see that this is a result of the goats. Hopefully the sheep aren't causing too much of a distraction there. They're coming in. The sheep heard my voice and they think they're going to get fed. Anyway, as the story goes, this was a beautiful tree. The goats don't eat the whole tree. They love to eat the leaves off of the trees, whether it's alders or your fruit trees, and they'll really get after the trees. But what will kill the tree is when they girdle it by stripping off the bark. And if they're really hungry, they might do this any time of the year. But I find that especially when the tree is starting to bud out and grow up, and the nutrients are coming up and down. So the reason a tree will die if the bark is taken off is, the nutrients that are picked up from the leaves, the sunshine, the energy goes down just inside the bark, and then the moisture comes up inside the center of the tree. Anyway, if you girdle a tree, whether it's a goat or you just strip bark off all the way around, the nutrients can't flow properly up and down, so they don't have to kill the whole tree. If they just take a ring around the tree of the bark, it will kill it. So that's what happened to this tree. We tried to protect it by putting some fencing around it and barbed wire, and eventually they gets worn down. Behind the camera here we had a wonderful pear tree, and we actually put up a 4-foot high cyclone fence that was probably 8 feet wide either way, and as the branches grew out they could eat off the leaves and whatnot. We didn't worry about it. And then, they broke through the fence one day and ripped off all the bark, and that tree is dead. Way back early in my goat experience, we first got goats to clear out the blackberries. Where I am was 10 feet tall blackberries, and it was all the way around here, just blackberries everywhere. And I had planted an apple tree that I had started. It was probably about 12 feet tall at the time. But I had planted an apple tree, but it was completely surrounded by blackberries. I couldn't even find my way back to it. We had other issues. I was trying to build the house at the time, and so we didn't keep the property maintained. So there's blackberries all around this fruit tree, but it was growing, it was fine. And then when we put in goats in here, I was like, I need to keep an eye on that as they work their way into the blackberries. Before they get to the tree, I need to do something to protect the tree. Well, I was checking like every other day, and then one day I didn't think they had found the tree. They got in there, and from the ground to 6 feet high, I could not find a square inch of bark on the entire tree. It's not usually that dramatic, but the tree was the perfect age, and the time of season was really sweet, and the bark was really easy to peel off. We do have some large fir trees. I'll show you on the property here that the bark is thick enough that they cannot now tear through it. Younger Doug fir trees, they'll strip the bark. Many of you know that my goats and sheep graze on my neighbor's property as well, and he asked me to do that so that I could help maintain his property. But when he was like, man, I got to go protect those trees, because he had some younger trees. Those goats are like dang beavers, and because they're just stripping the bark off everywhere and starting to kill his trees. So you can put goats around your trees, but you better protect your trees. And it's been my experience, you try to protect it, and then sooner or later they get through the barrier, they get through whatever's protecting it, and they're going to strip the bark, and you're going to lose the trees, and you're going to be really frustrated. So wherever you put your goats, just know that whatever is there, anything that grows in there, that's food for them, and you're just going to have to be able to accept that. And then if you don't want them to eat something, you need to have a fence. Their pasture needs to be on the other side of the fence and keep them out of it. You can see I have some tall firs inside the goat pasture, and this bark is too thick, they can't hurt it. But if you come over here, when the trees were younger, they were really stripping the bark here. We did a lot to protect this, and now the bark is thick enough up here, they're not going to tear through it. But because of the percentage of the tree that's damaged, this tree grows slower than the trees that are around it. We're walking up now on a viney alder. It was growing. This is actually just onto my neighbor's property, but it grows up in a lot of little shoots. And as the shoots are on the outside, the goats were stripping the bark off of that, and all those died and they fell down. But the shoots that were in the middle and protected they couldn't get to, there's still some green coming out of those branches because they still have their bark. So these have all been stripped and got old and died off. Those in the middle are living. See, the bark is gone all the way around this tree. Once upon a time we had chicken wire fencing on here. We also had barbed wire fencing, but that got all pushed down as they worked their way up. And this tree has no bark all the way around, therefore it is dead. Well, there you have it. Goats and trees. Not a good combination. Thanks for joining me on the Flanagan Homestead, where Christmas trees are my business, teaching, including horticulture is my job, and outdoor projects are my passion. Hope to see you again soon. Be blessed, everyone.